You know, as soon as she doesn't show up, she gets abused. It's not fair.
Well, and
You all set?
this will be, yes.
I'd like to call the Arundel Planning Board meeting to order July 10th at 7:05. I'd like to start with a roll call, please.
Marty King.
John McInerney.
Tom McGinn, Bob Kuhn.
Roger Moran.
Rich Canong.
Tad Ridgway Planner.
On the agenda for this evening is approval of agenda, election of officers, non-agenda public comment, then we have land use ordinance revisions, item 1, 2, and 3. Bylaw revisions, are we going to eliminate that one?
No,
No? Okay. Bylaw revisions and planners report.
they're in the minutes. All the
Okay.
revisions are in the minutes.
Okay. That being said, we have an issue here. We didn't put down the approval of the minutes of previous meetings, so we have to add that in. So,
I make the motion, we add that as item number 2, and then move everything down to one number.
Second.
all in favor of that? So passed. So now I have a motion to approve the agenda as we amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Unanimous.
Okay. We got that final election of officers. Being the present chairman, I'd like to,
We have to approve
Well,
the minutes.
oh, we got minutes, I'm sorry, you said it was number 2. Okay. Let's see. We got minutes of June 12th.
The public hearing on May 22nd.
Okay, May 27th, public hearing.
June 12th.
I move that we accept the minutes of May 22nd as presented.
Second.
With corrections.
Marty, that's your comment, because those minutes
No,
were
it's
approved.
been to it, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
that's what I was referring to. That's with the corrections.
I think Ann made corrections.
Yes, she did.
She put it in here, it's in.
Yeah, it's in there. Okay, we have a second on that? All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Next set of minutes for the meeting of June 12th.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Not opposed?
I'll abstain.
Yeah, I also abstain, I was not present.
Okay.
John, you were here on the 2nd, or on the 12th, or at least according to the minutes.
I didn't think so.
It was John, Bob, Marty, Roger, and myself.
It's the 26th you were here.
Oh, it's 26, I'm sorry. Let me just scan these. Okay, yeah, so I'll vote in favor.
Next set of minutes is the minutes of June 26th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Just,
I think grammar, if I recall correctly, one on the vinyl siding, but we discussed that, we all agreed that we didn't like the idea of an acceptable manufacturer's list. And that's not clearly noted there. It's on the third page.
I'm not sure I understand.
I think it should be noted that a lot of that discussion is we didn't like the idea of a manufacturer list because it keeps evolving. So, I thought to me it was important enough to have that included.
Okay, but that,
There was no decision.
So there was no decision on this.
No decision.
No, it's just.
Just what it says about the CEO.
right.
That's the decision. Correct.
Well, we had
No, there was no
decided
decision.
that we could not come up with a definitive list of acceptable manufacturers because it would constantly have to be changed.
Yeah, but the way I see what they're saying, the way this is written, it looks like we're giving the CEO authorization to determine what
But we
constitutes.
didn't really, I don't remember coming up with that,
We didn't come up with
about
that.
having the CEO make the decision.
Yeah, I thought we had.
Did we?
I thought we had decided that, because we could not come up with a list of acceptable manufacturers, that the CEO could make the decision as to whether or not it fit the standards that we were
I don't
looking
remember
for.
that. I thought we just wanted more information from the planner. The end of that paragraph is correct, but, we might have discussed this here when making the decision.
Well, that's, yeah, we believe that the CEO could make the determination, and we would like more information.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember,
No, we didn't vote on it, this was just what we were talking about.
I don't remember believing that CEO could make that determination. I would have then posted that, because we don't know who that CEO will be.
Okay.
So it could just be ignored, or could be over-enforced
We could,
by one person.
Through the chair,
Yes.
what was the outcome? I mean, we have plenty of time to debate, how we should do it. What was the outcome of your decision at that point? That's what the minutes are supposed to reflect, that's it.
As written, we wanted additional information from the planner, regardless of whether.
as well as the comments from the CEO.
So I agree with your comment, but I didn't see that as
So no
substance, and I know we're going to discuss it.
Okay.
Any other issues with the June 26th meeting? We have a motion on that, and a second. All in favor? So opposed?
This is the one I have to.
Okay, item number 2, election of officers. I'd like to nominate Rich Canone for,
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt, my term is up, and I don't know if I've been reappointed. I haven't been notified, so I don't know if I'm a member of this board in the new session.
Remember, until replaced, you serve until your
No,
post is.
I don't think that's how.
That's how it works. That is how it works.
That's how it works.
I think I need a notification of reappointment, and I believe I do have to sign and swear a new oath.
And that will be taken up at this next week's meeting with the selectmen.
Okay,
As
so,
it stands right now, you are a member.
all right.
that being said, I put Rich Canone's name in nomination for chairman.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The question is, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Is there anybody else really want the position?
Well, in truth, yes, I would want it, but I don't have the time to do it properly. So that's my dilemma. I would love to do it, but I'm pulled in too many directions.
Okay.
Mr. Coombs, would you be endeavoring?
I'm in pretty much the same situation, John, as the current. I mean, more personal stuff than work stuff. But
In fairness to everybody, I should tell you, I know of one meeting in August and one meeting in September, but I will be out of town.
you miss 50% of that here. Still.
I know it, but, you need to know about it.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Those opposed? That'll be it. Nomination for vice chair.
He's not here, I wanted to nominate James.
That's perfect, you
Yeah.
instruct people when they're not here.
Yeah, but
I
we
know.
have no idea if he's.
Yeah, we don't know.
He,
I don't know if he was re-elected.
amenable or not.
Going to the selectmen, everybody's been, there was only 2 positions to be played with this year, or for
You
I
reappointment.
thought there were 3.
Three.
You want to take on the vice chair?
Give as much as I can.
So I can't be here all that time, so. What about you, Marty? Are you interested?
I have a business to run.
We all have too much to do.
No, I have a business to run, I have enough between state, federal, and everything else.
How about
I have the life to run.
that? Sounds like a yes,
I
that sounds like a
nominate
yes to
Tommy.
me.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes, yes.
I will be able to be here. Considering,
Most of the time, yeah.
And now we have the nomination for secretary.
Jamie was that last time.
Yeah, we can nominate the secretary again, can't we?
You're doing a great job.
Yep.
Okay, I'll motion for Jamie. as
I
secretary.
just did.
Oh, that, okay. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
So be it. I'll pass it again over to Mr. Ganone.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Present and past. Can you please relate to the selectmen, okay? So I'm going through the chair, that at least please to put planning board in order on the website, because it still shows Bob Kuhn as chairman.
Right, so update the officers.
It's been
And-
requested
right.
before.
Right.
It's been requested before, but and also too, at the same time, we have requested it to post when the terms are expired. So that hasn't been.
That ought to be easy to do.
I don't know how to do it. I
Huh?
don't know if I have authority.
I'll teach you
We've
how to
asked for
hack.
that.
I will report on this meeting, so that will be one of the items that I will report on.
Thank you.
Okay, Rich, your ball game.
Public comment, non-agenda items. Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll move on to the land use ordinance revisions. Item 1, discussion with action, set a date for the Townhouse Corner District Neighborhood Workshop. Anybody have any particular days that work better for them?
Should be sooner than later, because we're gonna have all our subdivisions and stuff again.
Mr. Chairman, can you fill me in a little bit of, is that something that was requested by Townhouse Corners, or is it something that was requested by the planning board, or mutual?
It was more of a thing that came about because of the May 22nd public hearing, where a lot of the people had said they didn't know anything about it, either because they were not around to receive the mailings or nobody asked them about it. So we decided that it would probably be a good thing to have and to say to send out notices to all of the people down there. We're going to hold a workshop about all of the proposals that we have.
Okay, so this is the planning board being proactive.
Yes.
Good.
The question that I have, Mr. Chair, is the Townhouse Corner District and the Economic Development Committee have set up those meetings in the past. Is this going to be one set up by the board and then the committee comes, or is this one that we do jointly with the EDC?
What do you think, Ted? Could we do this with the EDC?
They'll attend, but I think this should be yours, this is yours,
Okay.
just as a follow-up to their two. They've had two, this will be a follow-up to yours, to theirs. They'll probably attend, but actually their main focus is going to be their economic development.
Trying to keep up with everything, though. The information that we have today, which we reviewed today, only included the extension to John Clough Lane and the inclusion of those businesses off that. That, it's my understanding, and I'm not sure if I read it, heard it, or whatever, but there's several people that want to move that even further.
It's a terrific opportunity for them to make that proposal. But I've also informed those who are interested in doing that to contact the comp plan committee, because that would require a significant change in the comp plan, because the comp plan committee just approved it to go to John Clough. And and they're gonna have to make a modification to do that, so. In this case, I would say that the planning board basically is presenting, all the times that the EDC did this, they had no real ordinance to provide to the citizens. They talked about general objectives and some of the things they wanted to accomplish. If they did not present them with an ordinance, you presented them with the ordinance and heard comments on that on the 22nd. I think that you should just pretty much work on what you propose to do with John Clough, going up to John Clough, including John Clough, and get response from the neighborhood as it stands right now in the ordinance that you have proposed. And if anybody wants to say extensions, you'll probably hear about it at that meeting, I would imagine.
I'm imagining this is going to be on some night other than a regularly scheduled planning board meeting. Unless,
Why would you want to do it?
well, I don't know what we have on the agenda for the next meeting, if we have anything in the pipeline. I'd love to have it at the next meeting and have that be the workshop, but I don't know if we have anybody that's coming up. It's 2 weeks away. It should be plenty of time to advertise and mail out notices to people.
Well, do we actually have to notices to be mailed out?
That doesn't, it's more than mailing. We'll have to.
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, and it's, we already have the list. We'll probably expand the list because I think one of the complaints was that butters were notified only people within the district.
And if it's going to be a proposal to, again, all the way to the end, I would think you would want to invite all of those people that could potentially be affected with that thing. It's fine to hear one side of the thing, but you need both.
No, he just said that it would have to go through comp committee, so we're only approving John Clough Lane.
I understand that, but one of the items that is going to be brought up for discussion in that meeting is going to be potentially expanding it even further.
And I think when we get a proposal, we should consider it at that time, but we don't have a proposal right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's been
Okay,
nothing.
I'm just saying, you're gonna be making a mailing, and then you're gonna have to have another meeting on that, if there is an extension to include all of the other people. It just seems like we're,
Doing it twice.
I've made my comment.
I understand what you're saying, and I think the issue is, that right now, we have nothing. We have rumors and talk about that, but we don't have anything at this point. The planning board made the decision after the 22nd meeting that you're going to have one more opportunity for the nearby residents of the Townhouse Corner District, as you had proposed to give them another chance if there was anybody who didn't receive their notification or was away for the winter, which I think was the case in some cases too. So, but I wouldn't know who to include. That would be a totally different animal and something that we're not, this planning board's not proposing right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think we need to keep it at, this is the district that we're proposing. These are the people that are abutting against it. Let's send them a notice. But we don't need to come all the way up to Route 1, which is what I think we're going to end up being asked to do. But that decision has to be made later.
I'm just asking, this meeting will just be informational or just looking?
It'll be informational for the people
Communication?
in the Townhouse Corner District. It'll be a communication from us to them saying, this is the proposal that we are making. We have not had a lot of representation from the people in that district. If you don't like it, if you do like it, come out and support it, come out and shoot it down, tell us you want things different. But this is the notification that you're going to get, that this is what we have in plan for this district.
When a notification goes out, does the proposal go out with it?
No.
So,
Linkage to the, no.
will it be, will it be like a website reference to the
So
website?
the reference to the website, and anybody can come into the town hall, to the town clerk's office and pick up a copy. For free.
Just so we can avoid someone saying that I had no idea, no one had notified me. So they will be told the website or some.
And of course, we can download it from them. If I had everybody's email, I could certainly send it to them, but the NSA is not going to give me that, so.
Mr. Question for clarification. The Townhouse Corner, does that include going south, the bicycle or the old Grange Hall?
Yes, it includes that. It goes up to
Does it, how far does it project any farther? Or is that the limit of it right there?
No, it goes to Meadowbrook. It goes to the Meadowbrook subdivision. That's where it begins on Arundel Road, proceeds up to Arundel Road to the original townhouse corner, and then goes up along Cabin Road. And it's obviously on the left-hand side, which is the town of Arundel, on the right-hand side is Kennebunkport. And it goes up to John Clough Lane, and it will include all of the lots in the John Clough subdivision, which are pretty much all residential right now, except for two parcels.
So we're back to the question of when we should have that meeting. I agree, it should be sooner rather than later. Because if there are any concerns that come up, we don't want to find ourselves in the position that we were on May 22nd, going, just pull the whole thing, we can't make a decision.
Has there been any dialogue with Townhouse Corner Group as to when they might be ready to approach the planning board? I imagine they must be working on something.
They are or not?
The
I haven't heard
EDC
anything.
is not doing this.
Not EDC, Townhouse Corner Group, not necessarily EDC.
The only time, the first thing that I can remember hearing from Townhouse Corner was on May 22nd when they showed up.
Exactly, yeah.
Prior to that, there was no organized group that I was aware of.
It might be.
There has been turnout because they may be part of the EDC, but there are also people who are down there, property owners.
I agree, but
So, I mean,
they were part of the EDC. There wasn't a separate representation for Townhouse Corner.
No.
So I'm wondering, what do you guys think? Should we shoot for something for the next meeting? I don't know what we have coming up.
We will have preliminary, a pre-application from American Iron and Metal. They want to do an expansion. We will have also, I don't know if John Toothaker's going to get his stuff in time, but you probably will have an additional, I'm pretty sure we won't have anything on that until the meeting.
And everything has to be in when?
Today.
Okay, so if you don't have it in,
It won't be
then there's nothing else on the agenda.
Yeah, I have AIM, but I don't have John.
Okay.
So let's do it then. I'd like to make a motion, we have that workshop on the meeting, which is going to be
The 24th.
24th.
Just to let you know, that means that if I get notifications out, let's say, I'm shorthanded this week. I don't have Ann and Wendy's out too, so we're missing two, so, we'll shoot for getting the notifications out tomorrow, which means people will receive them 10 days, 11 days beforehand, assuming they get it, let's say Monday at the latest.
May I also suggest put notification up at different sites where warrants are posted, so people can also know about it. For example, like Roma Market and every place else on the bulletin board.
I don't do that, I put it on the town website, and I put it on somebody else wants to do it. Marty, I'll give you a handful of these if you want to go post them around, that'd be terrific.
I'm just saying, you want participation.
Yeah.
Not everybody goes to the town website, okay? Not everybody has, but they have people that are in and out of Winks. You have people in and out of different other places who may be interested, so that at least you get good interest. And if you want public opinions or comments, that's the way to go. That's what I'm saying.
And
Well, I'll get them to you, you guys, if you want to come out at private business, that'd be fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I think the important thing is to get
I'll
them.
give them to Winks anyway, so she'll put them as well.
the important things to get them to be mailed out to the citizens down there so that they can.
Every single citizen in the district and abutting the district is going to get notice of it.
Okay, so we have a
This is
motion
also
for the
people besides that.
24th. Did we get a second on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just said, I'll be away that week on
Okay.
vacation.
I'll be there.
Also, too, one of our public comments was that they may not have been effective directly, but they were a butter to the zone.
Well, we've already included them in the people that are getting mailed. So they'll be notified that we're having the hearing.
Also, are we also mailing to the small section that do not belong to the town but are in that area?
No, I notified the Warner over at Kennebunkport. I notified the planner in Kennebunkport,
Okay.
and he notifies people.
I'm just asking
You've
a
already
question.
touched with anyone before.
Yeah, Warner gets all this stuff. And he's attended one public hearing already, one workshop. Because they're thinking about doing something similar on the opposite side of the town.
So I just want to follow up on that. Did you say that they were considering having a business zone in that area?
Yeah, very similar to what we're doing. In fact, that's why they were interested in seeing what we were doing. And Warner has a copy of the document from May 22nd.
Do you know how far up Log Cabin Road it goes?
They're looking at this rise.
No, that's almost all the way. That is all the way to that.
All the way to the Trolley Museum.
It's all the way to Charlie Museum.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to hold the Townhouse Corner District informational meeting on the 24th of July, and it has been seconded. All those in favor? Anybody opposed?
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Roger.
Marty seconded.
Marty second.
Item number 2, signage design and landscape section issues.
And then get this stuff.
The one that's in the print copy.
That's right there.
That's the one.
Yeah, I guess the issue that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I put this document together to make it easy for us to go through all of the statements that were made at the last planning board and everything else. We want to amend it, we just go through this document and take them one by one. So we can keep it in order, should we jump around on this document?
No, I think we probably should take them one at a time and work our way through this, because these are the suggestions that we came up with at the last meeting. So we'll just take these one at a time and work our way through them.
All right, we want to start with landscape then?
Well, the top one.
Start with the first one, start with that.
Oh, you want to see, you want to?
Start with the very beginning.
That's what he just said.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, methadone clinic. Where did that come from, if I may ask?
Somebody
We
asked.
were
Because I think Diane
questioning if we were
Robbins,
gonna allow it or not.
Diane Robbins asked the question at the public hearing,
Okay,
why they want to include it in healthcare centers and medical facilities.
okay. Well, that was a bit of a quandary for me, because I was trying to figure out where it came from. I did a lot of research on it to find out what's going on in the state of Maine regarding this. And the issue is pretty much this. We have about 8 of these methadone clinics in the state of Maine right now. The ones that are closest to us are Portland, Westbrook, Sanford, then they go up to Waterville. There's 3 in Bangor, 1 in Calais, and they're looking at putting one in Ellsworth.
Nothing in Biddeford?
Nothing in Biddeford. So the issue is with methadone clinic, of course, this was established back in the 2000s due to the flood of OxyContin abuse, especially in Maine. Maine is very high in opiate abuse, and this is one of the treatment options. And the concern is, of course, are methadone clinics, would methadone clinics in fact be something that would be viable under the current definition for medical facilities? And it's a clinic, so there is no prohibition against it. I would think that the code, I talked to the code enforcement officer and they said unless there's some sort of prohibition against it, it did not meet any of the standards we have for medical facilities, would be considered a medical facility. So would Arundel be eligible to, if a private corporation, and quite frankly, all of them except for one is run by a private corporation. If a private corporation wants to come and set, again, first of all, a license, the state does license these, and it does limit the number of licenses. The state's looking at expanding it. If they were to do that, and they came to the town of Arundel, they would be able to basically establish a methadone clinic. Question is, does the town, is that something the town finds conducive? What district are we going to put it in? Or would it be in any district that when we have medical facilities, should we identify, should we make a distinction between methadone clinic and a medical facility? It's a question of how much regulation you would like to have on there. We would like to see a clinic go in the town of Arundel or not go at all. That's something that clearly this board can do. That's what you were proposing with medical marijuana facilities. You were limiting those areas where such facilities could establish a new business. And the question is, would you do the same thing with methadone? Right now, if you were to want to do that, we would have to come up with a methadone clinic definition. It would be very similar to what the state definition is. And then you would have to decide where you want to put them. If you didn't want to do it, then there's two ways of doing that. And that would be to prohibit them in the various districts, or to limit their number of users who can be that could be served, a number of clients who can be served by a methadone clinic. And actually, the town of Ellsworth did that at first. They limited it, they capped it out for 30 clients, and the corporation that was looking at doing it was looking at it's a large corporation. They were looking at hundreds.
We did discuss it last meeting, and I personally, I don't have a huge problem with it if they are very regulated, but I think overall we felt it would be a burden on the town, might not be appropriate. I think that's what we came up with last time. If that's the case, we have to then have a definition and then specifically prohibit it.
Well, I would argue that we shouldn't have a specific definition for methadone clinic. I think we should talk about a dependency clinic, because whether it's methadone or Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever dependency there is, I think they're all in the same category. Economically, it doesn't do much for the town, and it also invites problems and causes an extra burden, as you said, in terms of law enforcement and so forth. So I think we ought to be talking about dependency clinics.
What would you want that to cover? That would be any kind of substance?
Any kind of substance dependence.
Well, so that, to clarify it, then this would have to be some kind of a business, because AA and NA do not have buildings or businesses that they run. They have groups of people that meet
It
in
wouldn't
churches.
exclude Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess, that I misspoke on that, but if there was a business established to provide an alternative substance to alleviate that dependency, it's something we would be opposed to.
Okay, so would that also include rehab centers? Like alcohol or drug rehab centers?
Well, what is the rehab center doing? Is it dispensing an alternative substance, or is it doing other kinds of counseling to alleviate the dependency?
Does them both.
My problem with the methadone clinic is that you just switch one drug for another, and that doesn't accomplish anything, and it invites problems to the town.
Sometimes I think I attend different meetings, so my recollection was that the majority, and I thought you too, Tom, so I thought your comments were a little out there, that the general feeling was we asked for some information from the planner regarding what was going on in other centers where they did have, because we didn't know, or the general consent, we didn't know if they were going to bring problems or not. They were businesses, and to John's point of, there's all sorts of offshoots. If it's not covered in the regulation, then it would have to fall under either the medical clinics or state controlled, state run with the state, and you could accept the state stuff. I mean, that's what I thought we were asking for. Are towns that have them experiencing problems that we should be aware of? Was there increased burdens on the town?
And I agree,
that kind of stuff.
that is what we,
Yeah.
I'm the one that was opposed to the clinics completely, but what you're saying is absolutely correct. We wanted more information about them and about the problems that
Because
they
we
may
didn't know
create.
all of these other offshoots like John is saying.
The other, along with that, we
I'm
were
sorry.
asking June about police or anything else, if it was a burden on that. I mean, like you said, we were fishing for information. Now, along that question to ask also, do the hospitals, okay, being a medical facility, or anything else, would they fall under being able to take care of a clinic like that?
We allow hospitals in our regulation.
Yeah.
And anything that,
No.
my understanding by our regulation, and hospitals have multi-layered, multi-stuff.
Yes.
Today, they're joining all over the place, so you have hospitals that have, like the Spring Harbors and behavioral stuff.
But I was inquiring from you about.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm saying it's
I've
like.
been doing it for years now,
No,
Marty.
what I'm asking is, I'm trying to ask is, does the Biddeford Hospital have a step program somewhere in there that does something of that nature? So that we wouldn't necessarily have to be something outside to have it here. That's right.
You're asking within Southern Maine Medical as opposed to an outside clinic?
Yes.
They're not licensed to dispense methadone. There's only one hospital that's a licensed to dispense methadone, and that is for treatment, for opioid treatment, and that's in Maine. That's current.
They do open a lot of classroom space, meeting space for a lot of these other
Information, yeah.
things and folks together on request.
I think what we need to find out is what kind of problems. We have a list here. There's clinics in Sanford, there's one in Westbrook, there's one in Portland. I don't know what kind of problems they've created.
If anything.
And that I think is what we need to find out. If, you know, I'm still gonna be opposed to them, but I'd like to know what, I'm with John on this. We're just substituting one fix for another, and I don't think that makes any sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of my motion the first time. Find out what kind of revenue, are they the kind of business that's going to bring revenue to the town?
Highly unlikely, you know, you'll get your property taxes.
That's it.
But that's the same thing that we're gonna get from most businesses.
Buy a beer on the way out.
Huh?
Buy a beer on the way out.
Stop at the marijuana farm.
But I just think that we need to get information from these surrounding towns. What impact does it have on the police? What impact does it have on EMS? Those are the people that are gonna get impacted. Are we gonna have, are cops gonna be there all the time because there are problems? Are you gonna get called down from an EMS point of view to
And then I think
do
it-
medical work?
See, to me, because I could go either way, but it's to that sort of information that would help me make that decision. Do we call it out, do we leave it in there? And by calling it out, you bring attention to it. You know, if you have a thing saying, yes, you can do methadone clinics here, we're probably gonna get one. But if it doesn't create any problems in all of these other places, you don't address it, hey, what are the likelihood they haven't ever come before? It's a small rural area, usually they go to more population centers.
I guess
I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know where we're better off.
my question would be, what level of data are you looking for? Because I think what we're gonna get in any case guess is anecdotal. I called the police chief at Westbrook, talked to him, or talked to the social services director at Westbrook. He probably will get anecdotal, I'm not sure, I'm gonna get number of calls as a percentage that were to the methadone clinic. Or, you know, because you can't, this is off-site, it's distributed and then they leave, and how do you attribute, you know, if there's a problem, if it's an on if there's an OT, if there's a problem, if there's a fight, if there's, you know, whatever could possibly happen. I think I'm gonna probably get more anecdotal than I'm going to get.
Is there a demand for it down here? That's, even though you
There's
may,
demand all over Maine.
you know, what I'm referring to it is, yeah, maybe all over Maine, but to be referred to a methadone clinic, you just don't go in, you usually have to have a doctor to try to be referred to go there. I mean, so it's just not Johnny walk off the street and says, okay, I'm going to the clinic today, and then,
There's a very strong, you're right, Marty, there's a very, very distinct process they go through to classify, to qualify.
that's why I'm asking that question is, if it's not even per se the qualifications set up, the demand isn't necessarily met down this way, so that would eliminate us.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but part of me looks at it and goes, how many people in the town of Arundel are now traveling to Sanford to get their fix? I don't have a clue. But if there was a clinic here in Arundel, they're more apt to come to the clinic in Arundel. And I'm trying to find out, is there a problem in the other towns? Because if there's a problem in the other towns directly related to the clinics, if we put one here, we're gonna have the same problem. But, and granted, it may end up being anecdotal information, because, you know, they may not go to the methadone clinic, they may go there once a month.
And I think it might be a myth that only, the only clients would be from urban areas. The wealthy get addicted. So-
Everybody gets addicted.
Well, I would, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah?
You know, one quick comment, or two comments, but, you know,
I'm sorry, you only allowed one.
it's not just, it's not really a fix, right? It's there to help them, right, to get the individuals off of this stuff. It's not, you know.
But it is, it substitutes methadone for whatever other drug they
I
have to
understand,
take.
but it's, the intent is to cure these folks, right?
Versus that bill.
Okay.
The other comment is, maybe just from the various planners, maybe Tag can contact the planners and say, what do you think? Has this been something good for the town? Has it been something bad? Are you guys sorry that it's there? Or maybe that's just enough information, rather than trying to do a whole bunch of research.
Yeah, that might be a good point.
Good idea.
I suspect that there would be almost no
Yeah.
problem. It would be in the news if there was a problem. You know, ironically, we're all right with going and do 10 shots and there can be 80 people drinking and they're there for a fix, you know, but so this is regulated, it's by prescription, it's by referral, so there's a whole bunch of systems in place. I don't think I agree with Marty, I don't think there'll be a big demand here, but if the door is open, it could be filled.
It could be.
I would think that you list all the towns off that have them, you're looking at cities with a big population of people. I don't really see that being an issue here. If they're gonna come to this area, the businessman that's gonna open that is gonna wanna go where there's more people, gonna wanna be in Bedford, gonna wanna be somewhere where they can walk in and not have to drive to.
Unless Bedford bans it, then
That's why, no, that's why I was trying to, for population, but also for, you know what I mean, because you got, like in Sanford, okay, you have the good old down there for, okay, and then like Westbrook, you have Maine Men in that area up through there, the different bigger hospitals. That's why I was just inquiring.
Neither one of those is through Maine Med.
No, I'm just using that as,
Yeah, I
But
understand. what you're
Goodall
saying.
is part of
It's
the
now part of
Southern
Southern
Maine
Maine Healthcare.
Healthcare,
Everything is something made healthcare now. Okay, so I think at this point, we'll just have the planner do a little bit of digging, get some information, contact the planners in these towns, find out if there is a problem. I think it's a great idea, Dan. And that would help us a lot with the decision as to whether or not we think it's acceptable. And when it comes time to define them one way or the other, what does the state call them? How does the state define them? And then we can say yes or no based on what the state defines them. I mean, if that's the state definition and the standard that they're using to determine whether or not they get a license, if we decide that we don't want them, we can use that language to say, here, this is the standard. I mean, I don't want to reinvent that wheel. Okay, on to lighting.
No, we get the,
Well, Wayne Monroe's comment, but we're going to cover that when we do
oh, okay,
the BI district.
okay.
Because we're not,
If I may, it's already in the proposed new BI district, so.
okay. But when we get there, we'll be reviewing it and we can go over the whole thing.
Well, we were there, but I think we're almost done with the BI district, quite frankly.
It'll be good.
Again, if we're done with it, most residents or butters along that way, okay, may not have any knowledge of
Well,
what's going on.
But I would say, in terms of the BI district, we didn't bring it up to include it at the town meeting. We haven't had the public hearings or anything. We may have most of our work done and ready to go to a public hearing, but because we haven't finalized it and gotten to that point.
I thought part of that was being shoved in this package.
There was nothing in the,
Well, it will be for the next year.
it will be for the next year, but there wasn't anything
I
in
thought
this
that
last
was
one.
all the stuff that we had gone through and everything else, everything was all in the package, and it was gonna take one and for all.
Yeah, but that's not what we did this last time. Remember, we were only looking at 3 business districts we were going to bring, because we had people who wanted us to do that before we finished the rest of the document, before the comp plan committee had finished their work. But there was a very big push to get those 3 business districts up and running. And so that's why we did what we did, and we created that kind of Frankenstein ordinance that I mentioned, with things that didn't quite fit exactly well, just in order to facilitate the creation of that. Now we're shooting for doing it the way we originally intended, was a whole new ordinance, new format, and as a well-integrated whole, rather than pieces patched together.
And we had the issue with lighting, which was interesting, and because it appears that the general impression is that if you put in new lighting, you have to retrofit all of the old lighting.
That's the question that was mentioned.
Raised. And that was done by Mr. Pavon and Roscoe.
Yeah, the issue was, that's been in there since 2000. I asked the code enforcement officer, and of course that predated him, but he says he's of course never done that. And I was looking for any references in the planning board, see if there was any time the planning board has ever had a project where we required that. And I think the only situation where we did have that, we did do that with County Connection when they were putting in their lighting. Their lighting didn't meet any standards at that time, and they wanted to put in new lighting, and we just basically said, meet the standard and for your new lighting, and we did their entire lighting. So the question is, that was a good thing. Weirs just did the same thing too. They did all their lighting.
But also too, at the same time, they had massive area okay?
So they were adding a lot of lighting. A lot of that area was not.
There's a lot of square footage, that's what I'm trying to say is,
So the question is, how do you want to handle this in the future? I mean, because I have struck it, but, you know, do you want to strike it?
I have a suggested revision to that.
Please.
So referring to just that section which has been crossed out, I would reinvigorate some of that.
Okay.
So that sentence would read, when an outdoor lighting installation is being modified, extended, or added to, the entire lighting installation shall be reviewed. Substantive revisions may be subject to meeting the requirements of this section as per decision of the board.
Okay, I've got an idea too. That is-
Well, I just want to explain that what I'm looking at is that basically the board gets a look at it, and the board decides whether we really have to impose the new regulations or not, whether it's a big enough change or whether it's a minor change and we don't need to have them conform to these regulations.
Well, why can't we put a qualifier on it that if it exceeds 50%, they're upgrading more than 50%?
I wouldn't do that because what do you mean by 50%? Is it surface area that is covered? Is it brightness? Is it the size of the lights? The number of lights? What's 50%? And, even if you have, one light that's just a total glaring light, that may be, 10% of your lighting, that could be a problem. So that's why I wanted the board to get a look at it. So if there are changes made, we would review it. And then at that point, we decide, well, do we need to have this change? And it says here, substantive revisions may be subject to. So not the old lighting, but the new lighting that is being added would be subject to meeting the or may be subject to meeting the requirements of this section as per decision of the board.
But that's, I think you're missing the point of what was brought up. What was brought up was, I'm gonna pick on Bevins, okay? He's got his lighting plan in place. If he goes to add in more lights, the way the ordinance was written, he was gonna have to change every light in the place to meet the new ordinance. And that was the problem. They're saying, no, we should not be affecting the old accepted lighting system. It was passed that way, it was put in that way, that's the way it should stay. Just because I've added in some more lights in my parking lot should not force me to change everything in the parking lot. I actually agree with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're agreeing with John.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly my point.
no, I don't think we need to go and review it. He needs to put those lights in under whatever new ordinance we happen to have. I think this, when an outdoor lighting installation is modified, extended, expanded, or added to, the entire installation will
The
be...
new lighting installation, not the entire lighting.
The reason I would like the board to review it is because I foresee the possibility that, let's use Bentley's again, and let's assume that he has a unique lighting system which doesn't quite meet the standards, today's standards, but it just works for his business. That would not allow him to extend that because he would have to put in lighting that meets today's standards. So you'd have two different lighting schemes which would clash potentially. So that's why I'm saying, we should review it. If there's a reason to allow something a little bit out of the ordinary, we would have that discretion.
I think it's one of those, it's a regulation thing for me, like, just if they want to put a new light in, bring it up to new standards. I don't want to look at what their other lights are. They have to come in here and
they have to do
explain, they
lighting
want to put
plan.
1 or 2 bulbs in. To me, I'd rather just say, just do it to the new standards, and if there's a clash with old and new, that's,
Just change the
then they
entire
can come to us if
So,
they want.
well, and you could put right after the word entire, before lighting, and just put new. You have the word there, it says the entire new lighting.
The new, only,
Right.
yeah,
The
just
new, the new lighting installation shall
Shall
be
subject to requirements of this section.
Right.
Just add the word new in there, right after entire.
Now, question for you, since technology is all changing, and everything else, and you play with the energy efficiency, you have to go through the whole lighting program?
We're not talking about they're changing a light bulb to an energy efficient bulb. We're talking about they're adding in new lights.
And if it's out in the back and it's not hitting in the butter, it's not hitting the street, the lumens aren't, they can do whatever they
It's
want.
really just to shield it, so it's not glaring.
Yeah.
We gotta be sure what the standards are, you know, for that.
But we've been around this before with CMP.
Also,
How so? Because turn on, somebody put in the security lights, okay? And by putting the security lights in, see if they had, a business had contract to put the security lights in, and it didn't meet the light standards, and they were being told by the planning board and everybody else beforehand, they had to take them out, because it didn't meet the lighting standards.
Marty, if it didn't meet the lighting standards, it shouldn't have gone in to start with. It didn't meet the standard that we had on the books. If they put it in, they should have had to take it out.
They didn't put it in, CMP did.
But this is saying if it's already there, it's exempt. Besides, that's water over the dam, that's something that's not an issue right now. That was 15 years ago.
So
What was it?
I don't even know the
Yeah,
issue.
I mean, I'm not.
Actually, it was Bentley's.
familiar with it, but-
Before it was Bentley's. Was the, yeah.
So what the board is saying at this point is that you want all new lighting to meet the current standards of the ordinance.
Correct.
Yes.
And by striking that
Whether
line
it's-
out, that's, or by adding in new, either one would accomplish that.
It's the planner's stuff.
So you just put up some old lighting, so it doesn't meet the new standards.
No, it has to, because that's what it
Has to
says.
meet the-
If you're putting up lighting, it meets the new standard.
Gotta meet new standards.
So,
That's,
you seem to have a problem, please share.
Yeah.
well, you know, I find this thing very convoluted and confusing, the whole paragraph, frankly speaking. We put
How do you
this
think the
in,
businessmen have felt?
we put this in only because this is part of Frankenstein. You know, this is existing. And I'm not sure that we should rewrite the whole thing because it's circular. And it also deals with, what I'm seeing here is incandescent versus HID, and it does not take into account LED at all.
That's why I said new technology.
These new watts are, some of the watts are 300 watt LED is, wow. That's landing lights.
Here it goes.
But in
But
fairness,
that's the
yeah.
total of all of the lights on the property.
No,
No, it's that installation.
No one bulb shall have a wattage in excess of 300 watts. Now, I didn't entangle with this thing back when we were doing this because we were in a hurry up mode, but we might want to take
No,
another look
no.
at this whole
It
thing.
says that all,
Provided that no single lamp exceeds
Right.
150, and that the total of all bulbs
you know,
exceeds, and throughout the whole process exceeds 300.
I will guarantee you that any lighting has more than 150 or 300 watts. Because all you need is let's put it this way, Hannaford, those fixtures there have, each quad fixture has probably 100 watt HID in it.
Problem is, we're using the wrong unit.
We're using all of them.
Right, you shouldn't use watts, you should use something like lumens.
Should be using lumens, yeah.
because watts become an outdated measure.
So should we go back and rewrite this whole thing?
we should go back and, if nothing else, change the wattage.
But, you know, I can do that, and I'm sorry, I'm obfuscating the issue. The real issue here is, the question is, when somebody does a modification, expansion, or a change of lighting fixtures, are they required to go back and make all of the other fixtures on site compliant to the current ordinance? That's the question.
And that answers,
I'd say no, because they might want to put one light in for safety, you might realize, oh, people keep tripping there. and then they realize, well, this is gonna cost $15,000 or whatever, I don't know.
And that's basically
500.
the argument that was made
Yeah,
at the meeting. We shouldn't have to change everything.
yeah, just let them make their improvement, but that improvement.
Has to meet the standard.
Yeah, and then eventually it'll all phase in.
Which is why, with what Bob said,
Okay.
extended or added to the new lighting installation would work, or striking that sentence out completely would work. Because it achieves the result.
Or rewriting.
Or rewrite.
Well, rewriting it completely is a
If
whole
there's
other issue.
concern about it, I think we ought to rewrite it, and
Can I just,
in our lighting section that goes, it's in one of these, we had this called out differently, Ted. This came from 7.5, where did we do lighting?
We did lighting and we had different lighting standards for different districts. Remember?
Each
Based on,
district had its own lighting.
it had its own
Yep.
lighting. If it deviated from this, it had its own lighting. So, like in the Townhouse Corner district, which is supposed to retain residential character, because that's the way it was sold to the residents, obviously they're going to be putting 25-foot lights with HID, halides. They're pulling them out with 150-watt volts in a 4-quad, in a quad.
yeah, point out one
Bus station stuff.
One thing about that 150 watt thing, that's only if there's 2 or fewer fixtures. And then, so 150, and then the total wattage does not exceed 300 watts. It can't, because you're only gonna have 2. Well,
Right. Yeah, well, it's saying that if there's 2 or less, it has to be approved, it can be approved by the CEO,
Right.
provided.
just 150 max per bulb.
We have
If there's
also,
only 2,
Right.
you're.
Everything else has to come before the.
If there's only 2,
I'm
it
gonna
can't
say-
be exceed
I'm
300 anyway.
gonna
Put in
suggest,
LED 150-watt light bulbs.
Well, whatever measures you come up with. I think that
Hang
this-
on, Bob's got something to say.
No, let me just
Okay.
clarify, I don't know if you heard what I'm saying, is that's only required if there's 2 or fewer. That means 1 or 2.
Right.
No single lamp can exceed 150, so there's no way you're gonna exceed 300.
Mhm.
So just 150 per bulb, period.
is 300, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so the rest is,
Well, the lead into the whole thing too talks about security and operational. And we've cut, those are different lighting standards for security, and it's all lumped into this one. You're allowed security lighting like in the parking lots of the cars. Okay, so to me, I agree with you. This is not only circular and doesn't make sense and is confusing. And if you guys are saying that the wattage is wrong and we're doing the wrong metrics, this should be rewritten. So that would be my thing. This, too many comments.
Okay.
But is it the consensus that we will stick with what's there is fine? That if you make improvements, that does not trip and complete rehab of the entire system?
Right, that's my feeling.
That's the question I'm asking, so when I rewrite that. John, do you agree with that, or when you say under certain circumstances, a rehab would be warranted?
Well, I was just, allowing the possibility for a business to extend their current lighting plan if there was a reason to do it. Like if you had a unique, I'm envisioning, something like, like a restaurant or something like that had old Edison bulbs, throughout. And then all of a sudden you're completely changing the lighting if they want to extend the parking lot or something like that.
Or an outdoor cafe,
Yeah.
and they want to have lights
So
out there.
I was allowing for the possibility of making it consistent, provided the board had no problem with it. If it wasn't obtrusive, it wasn't causing problems, that even though it didn't technically meet the new standards, it wasn't a problem.
We don't really have any, I don't think we're gonna have any standards mandating people have energy efficient lighting. Quite frankly, because there is character.
No, but that,
It's very inefficient.
I'm talking about those old Edison bulbs that they sell now, that don't have, you're not supposed to have shades on them, they're just little glowing wires. It's the retro thing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody's
Yeah.
buying them like crazy. That was my only thing, what?
But I don't think they're outdoor lights.
They're incandescents.
Yeah, incandescents, right?
I don't think they're outdoor
Yeah,
lights.
let's-
Sixty meters outdoor.
You know,
See what's going on.
if the CEO were to review any change that's made, and if the CEO had concern about the change, he ought to be able to forward it to the board anyway. That's his job, right?
I would pretty much guarantee if he has any concern, he will.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Right, I was just leaving a little flexibility in there, that was my suggestion. I know CEO likes to make black and white decisions, that's a, you know, it's a nice way to go. You don't like the gray areas, that's our job.
Okay, so let me see if I can summarize it, we understand it. We're gonna look at changing this section, 7.5A, and clean it up and make it a little more understandable. But we're going to have the planner remove anything that would indicate you have to retroactively change your lighting if you put in a new scheme.
Retroactively change your existing one.
That's right, you're not gonna have to change the existing lighting if you put something in. The new section has to meet the standard.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But I just want to add one more thing to what John said. That's a good point. I'm thinking like outdoor seating, and they got like the, you know, just the string of bulbs.
Right, yeah.
And we're saying everyone needs a shield on it. So I wonder if we could have something under a certain level of wattage is exempt.
Then you have a cumulative effect, so you know, you could have a problem.
So what happens if they have
You can't use Christmas tree
they
lights.
have Christmas lights? Yeah, they'd be violations.
Is that not addressed, when we look at this and say, direct or indirect illumination shall not exceed 0.5 foot candles upon abutting lots?
Yeah.
Does that not cover
That
it?
would cover.
That does cover
That would do it.
Well,
No,
it doesn't.
why?
Well, because you have skylight, and light that it's reflecting in the sky.
We
You
do.
have rope lighting, for instance, rope lighting you use a lot in outlining the edges of steps. Use it at
You mean your solar
decks and so, no, rope lighting, it's basically small LED lights, you see it in a plastic tube.
Where do we have them in this town?
But
But it's
we're
all right, but
going
it's
to
all right.
have them, just like we don't have methadone clinics right now.
Yeah, but it's all right for Harvey homeowner to use it at his house, the rope lighting and everything. But you can't use it in a business or anything else?
That's not what he said. He said that there's this rope lighting or Christmas tree lights that may create an effect of greater than a half a lumen on
the
abutting
sky.
property or on the sky.
No, you didn't say on abutting properties.
You're right, he said on the sky.
Our ordinance goes to abutting properties. And if that lumen isn't on, what is the difficulty?
Well, the difficulty is that we don't have, there's no way, first of all, to take a reading in the sky of lights.
We shouldn't even be discussing.
The problem, so here's why, Dan, here's why. Because we say any light, and this is, I'm glad we brought this up, because it requires all light sources to be shielded. So that means the Christmas tree lights, and they're supposed to be shielded, it's a very good point. It sounds like minutia, minutia is going to fall down sometimes. So rope lighting has no shielding. It's low, it's an LED light, it's very low voltage and wattage.
But it is shielded by itself. The fact that the rope is there, you're shielding
It's
the light.
translucent, it's transparent.
Let's not draw this out anymore.
I don't want to draw it out, but I think we'll look at, we have to have a minimum wattage, or a maximum wattage for something like that,
Yeah,
for
Not
Christmas tree
wattage,
lights.
not wattage.
Not wattage, well, in some cases it would be wattage, but the amount of lumens it's going to reduce.
Yeah.
5-watt light bulb, for instance. We know that how many lumens a 5-watt light bulb in an LED or a 5-watt light bulb in a incandescent.
So at any
So we'll
rate,
have to do a little more research, so we don't have that situation where the shielding is required for something like Christmas lights, or rope lighting or something like that.
so that addresses the
Otherwise,
issue of what we're
we're gonna
looking
stay with
at in
lumens
terms
wherever
of,
possible.
so we're gonna end up looking at changing that ordinance. And as long as we have language in there that it does not affect what is currently in place.
Yeah.
I think that will
Or it'll
satisfy
be
the
a
need.
text, and,
And then we can look at all of the specific details when we get back into looking at this. Okay, tree easement. This one created a firestorm.
Well, as I think I said before, and I'll say it again, the reason why that was put in there was kind of like foresight, way foresight. It needed to be a little more specific in one sense, because it was, number one, it had two basic purposes. One was to permit the town to maintain trees that were installed within or overhanging the town right of way. It wasn't just limited to just Route 1, which is state highway, or Route 111, which is state highway. We're going to have other town roads in which this is going to be effective. So it was making sure that the town had the capability to get the trees. That was number one. Number two is also, frankly speaking, putting that language in there also enables the town to qualify for certain main urban and community forestry grants, in which we can get basically grants for street trees. Actually they'll pay for the street trees and install them. That can be good in certain situations, especially if we're looking to do some upgrades, let's say the Gateway District or to the Townhouse Corner District, which the town wants to participate or work with the community, with the owners or the business owners who want to permit. We get the money to actually buy the trees. So in order to get grant money, like all grant money, you have to agree to certain things. One of them is this maintenance easement that they start going to hell, basically, where the town can go and make repairs or things that want to take care of hazard limbs. That's why they have them.
I'm kind of old school, I guess. The town has a right of way, and within that easement of the right of way of the town can already go in and do these things. That's what that right of way was established for.
Right.
Now, I agree, and I think the verbiage of maintenance, the word maintenance, it's for what you just said. It's for the emergency removal of overhang, for protection, if something was in the road, but more for number two. If we're going to be able to pursue number two, then we need something in number one, but it was the concept of the town having to maintain these, which isn't the intent. The intent is the town, should it elect to, can go in and remove anything that appears to be a hazard.
Fire department's gonna do it anyway, like he said.
That's my point.
Yes.
That's exactly my point.
Public Works might do it.
Huh?
Public Works might do
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Yeah. But we already have that.
But if you have, let's say, if you do have a street tree that is a tree that's just on the edge of the right of way, or let's say outside the right of way that overhangs the right
So
of way.
then we call out overhang, because that's not here. We call out fall down on the road or anything that potentially creating a hazard.
Anything in the town right away, so it's overhang, it's in the town right away.
You can do it that way. But we have to have this language if we want to get these grants.
Yeah,
If we want to pursue these grants, we just try.
I'm not saying eliminate, I'm just saying let's tweak it a little bit to be more for that hazard. It's not a maintenance, it's for hazard cleanup.
If the town wanted to, let's say, as the town of Drummond did with their elms, where they went in and actually fertilized and put copper sulfate in to try to combat elm disease. If the town were to want to do something like that, just don't limit the hazard, that they have the option of going in and maintaining it in some way. We have some trees that we have a problem with leaf borer or something, and it still allows us to go in and spray them if they're overhanging or
Then
something like
at
that.
least include the phrase at the town's option, if may. This sounds like, and what, the response came that, hey, are we going to be in the maintenance upkeep? Just because we allow them to plant a tree in there now, are we responsible for maintaining and trimming and keeping it pretty and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Remember the comment of what tax dollars are going to be used, so So the thought process was that we're going out there and
It'll
maintaining all
cost
these
us money.
trees.
Yeah.
We're not doing that, so the language needs to be clear that we're not gonna do that.
Exactly.
It's for the emergency stuff, it's for the,
Required maintenance that the town's up.
As it sees fit.
One question, how does supposedly these grants apply when we're not a city?
It's just.
Because, as I had asked you before, all along the way, it seems like these trees are more important than any other thing. We're not in the landscaping business.
Well, to answer the first one, Tree City is just a term, it's for any municipality. They don't call it tree municipality, they call it Tree City. That's the first thing. Number two, I mean, we've always had landscaping, including street trees, in our ordinance.
No, we haven't. Not always.
Well, you're right, probably before, before you had it, or sort of in the early days.
Go back to about when you turn out before 2000 right there. Okay, you can come back after that too.
They go down, they've gone down your street, my street, or at least the main streets, they're cutting all the.
Who's doing that?
The town,
No, turn a lot of it CMP and
No, not the old big branch, but they cut the first 10 feet in, they got that little arm that they
Yeah, you
cut.
see them all the time, it looks
Yeah.
like a lawnmower on steroids.
Yeah.
Got the bar coming off the side, and just.
Side cycle.
This stuff. Yeah, I don't know what they're called,
side cycle.
but they go down through and they do maintain it, and we do see it.
Public Works.
I think our question is, do we want to keep it the way it is, or do we want to change it, or delete it out completely?
I don't think we should delete it.
I think it would be good to clarify it, like Dan was saying, but just, it looks like it's for emergencies or.
Rather, and it looks like, if you read this, we have to get individual easements with every person, which we do not. We have a right-of-way. This should be a statement in here that says that, and I like your words, as the town sees fit, it will work within its right-of-way.
Right away is fine, but the way it's gonna this looks more than anything else, that you're gonna be putting on somebody's property.
Well, no, well,
That's where,
yeah, not to me, this says within the
because
the
that
easement,
falls
but
under your
but it's reading
architectural,
that we need an easement. and
your landscaping.
That's an agreement. We want to enter into agreement.
Well, if you're putting street trees in, as required by our ordinance,
Uh-huh.
you're usually putting it on your property, and this is giving us, and maybe I should have not put in it, planted in the town right away, it should be adjacent to the town right away. That gives the town the ability to go in, if there's a problem with a hazard tree, or the tree disease, or there's a public benefit in going and maintaining that tree of some sort, that the town decides by policy that it gives us the right to be able to do that.
Are you now talking about a tree that's not in the right of way?
Yes. It's like gonna run up and down the eastern trail.
Well, that's a whole different story.
It may overhang the town right away and
Yeah.
create a problem.
But the town should only be able to touch that portion which overhangs.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
Unless
so
that-
that's how it
unless
touches
that
it.
portion could take the whole tree off, because I mean, a tree could end up
It
living and
could,
everything.
right,
You know.
but it could just be a limb.
Because you've seen what CMP does when they cut trees.
Yeah.
They basically cut them one side, they don't balance the tree at all. And they don't do that, first of all, to cost, but second of all, because then they'd have to get permission every single time they don't feel like doing it. So
I have
just
a
want to
question.
do that.
Yes, sir.
Years ago, in Clearview Estate, there were trees that were planted, they died.
Yeah.
Do was that replace them
Right.
at his cost. But they were planted, I think, on the people's land,
Property.
not on the right of way of the town, not a 50-foot wide.
Yeah, that'd be.
Because that was part of the original
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of
plan
it.
for Clearview Estates.
A lot of roads are wider than what's being used too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in front of my place, if they ever decided to widen Route 1, you'd come out my door of a shop and you'd be right in the parking lane.
Yep.
You know, so there's you own more than what you see sometimes.
Or less than what you see, in many cases. No, exactly less, in some places, as you say, and people assume that this is all my lawn, and surprise!
So is it the consensus of the board that we should keep that in?
I say yes.
Okay,
It's just-
we need to work on the wording, but I think we need, let's move along and say, do we take it out or do we leave it in? If we agree that we're gonna leave it in, then it's simply a matter of what verbiage do we wanna have in there.
But if we're talking about working on trees that are adjacent to the right of way, I believe the town should get permission from the landowner. If we're talking about trees or portions of trees that are in the right of way, I think, this is fine.
Yep. My only concern about this is the clarification. It enables the town free access to maintain trees planted within the right of way.
Within the town right away, don't leave out
Within-
the town.
Okay, you're right. Maintain trees planted within the town right of way. If we leave it that way, I see no way that we can affect trees that are planted on somebody else's property.
Well, then why even have it? Because the whole point is that. yeah.
I agree. But this
The town does have the right
specifically
to-
says
to
trees
maintain
planted
trees
in the right of way. I think the way that it was presented originally worked out fine. It enables the town free access for horticultural maintenance purposes. We can go in and trim them back if we have to.
Except for the possibility of getting a grant. I agree with Bob, I don't.
Oh, well, I would take it out too if it weren't for the grant. But
So-
if you want to give me something, if I put the proper language in place, okay, I could be tempted.
Well, how much of a grant are we talking about?
I have no idea.
All right.
Depends what project we bring forward to the, what you do is you bring a proposed project to the, it's actually the Department of Conservation, they run these programs on an annual basis. And you know, say, well, we want to, a good example would be, yeah, we want to dress up the gateway district because we want it to look more like the gateway, so we want to put in some trees along on either side of Route 1. You know, as part of the gateway, you apply for that and give them a plan and say, so what do we want it to do? We're gonna take care of the trees, make sure they don't die in the first 3 years or whatever. That's basically how it's done.
But, okay.
And then they'll give you the cost, generally what they do is they give you the cost of the tree, the installation, and some maintenance for it as well.
But for a program like that, those trees would be placed within the right of way, right?
Yep, unless.
You're not gonna put them on somebody else's property.
Unless you got permission from the property.
Right.
Which you can do.
Right.
You could put them in on somebody else's property, and that's partially why that's in there, is saying if you do put it on another person's property, they consent to you putting it on their property, you maintain it.
Okay, well, that's the part that I think needs to be made clear.
Okay, so we're going to just clarify that, and we'll leave them to it.
Yep.
So I'll rework that, and it's gonna have a third section there where it talks about that.
Okay, performance assurance, the landscape. This was Jamie had said that, from his point of view and expertise, that a 2-year limit would be enough, because if the trees are going to survive the 2 years, then everything should be okay and they'll make it for the 3. And we had a discussion about whether 2 would be enough or 3, and Bud had commented that they get through a year and we're not.
But I think we all agreed, the majority of us,
The majority of us said that the 3-year limit would be appropriate,
it would be appropriate.
because they might get past the 2-year line and may not make it to the 2.5. But I think we all thought that if it got past 3 years, then it was gonna survive, and it was gonna make it.
Well, I think that was taken if we were going to have an assurance. The
Yes.
majority of us felt that 2 years or 3 years, you're in that ballpark. The actual need for an assurance for trees, I don't know.
Well, it wasn't just for
It
trees.
just seemed to be one additional layer for you guys to have to manage. I don't think.
Yeah, it is, although, at the same time, if that goes up, you can have places where these trees will die, and you've already done the release on the project. Somebody actually can do their entire road in a year, with plant the trees in a year or two. You get the release in a year or two.
Right, but
They
this-
die the next year, you have no money to be able to go back and
This wasn't just about an issue of trees, this was landscaping itself, not
landscaping
just.
and trees.
You're talking about planting trees, how far apart they have to be planted? 100 feet, 200 feet, or?
Yeah, it depends on the district.
Yep. Depends on
Of course, the
what-
next question is, are they gonna be in the sign, the way of the sign? So because your sign's gonna be so high.
This is
I
something.
mean, but that doesn't matter, the tree's more important.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a certain circumference of the tree, it'd be 14 feet tall, sign only can be so high.
So we're all agree with that.
Okay, so we're all in agreement, the 3-year limit would be appropriate.
Well, I don't know that we're all.
We're not all in agreement.
Well,
Well, we were at the last meeting we
At
had.
the last meeting, we were all in agreement with the 3-year limit,
All right.
or the majority of people that were here. There were 4 of us.
Yeah, but Marty is a
Yep.
fifth one included in there.
Yeah, Marty and Jamie were the two that,
Said no.
right. Jamie thought a 2-year limit was fine.
That's what I said, too.
So I think at that point, we from my,
So what
from
is
my
it
point of view,
that,
we settled
what
the
is it
issue
we
of
have to
trees.
decide here?
No, just a comment, we had said that the performance assurance bond is a 3-year bond and not a 2-year.
Right, but
So
if you
that-
decided that at the last meeting,
Yes.
what are we talking about now?
It's just here, we're just mentioning it. The landscape buffer, the 140%, remember that great question?
Yes.
And we need some clarification on that.
Sure. Yeah, at the meeting, I forgot why that was in there.
Why, Mr. Chair, so what, are you changing by what was written here? From, it was a 2-year limit, now you're changing it to a 3?
No, it was a
It was
3,
3.
and that's what we left it at. In the ordinance that we brought to the public hearing, it was a 3-year limit. And we were going, the discussion was whether we reduced it to 2 years or we eliminated it completely. And the majority of us decided, no, we're going to leave it at the 3-year, the way it was written. So, landscaping, 140%.
That was brought up at the public hearing, and people were wondering why, you're exceeding 100%. What does that mean?
I wrote this a long time ago, so I kind of forgot about it. The 140% is just what I call the extra mile factor. We get in situations where we have buffering, where we need to do buffering. And we absolutely require, right now we have it, but we absolutely require that you cannot see that project from this place. We have that right now in our ordinance. It's a great performance standard. We've experienced, it's a tough thing to administer. What you want to do is you want to give the applicant or the project person a chance to put in something and walk away knowing that they met the standard without coming back years later and saying, well, no, you haven't met the standard because the standard is a performance standard that you shall never see anything from here because landscapes change, things change. So you want to have the buffering set, and approved for the buffering, put in the buffering, case closed. Right? And we're all in agreement with that. So it doesn't come back and bite you. Run into this too many times, we're not going to do this again. But sometimes to make sure you're doing it 100%, if you put in, let's say, 2 rows of trees, 2 rows of pine trees, that's white pine trees, I wouldn't use it, but let's say you did. That's 100%. Oh, I can get 100% buffering and within, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Well, the 140% gives the planning board the ability to put in a safety more than 100%, saying, okay, we want you to put in one more row behind that, because we know in 6 years or 10 years, these trees are going to grow up, and then the lower branches are going to die off, and you can see right underneath. We want to make sure that the planning board has an ability to put in a safety net of additional buffering if they want to. That's why I put it in.
But
You
how does
choose
that add
up
to
to, it says
140?
up to. it's
That's 150.
not
Yeah,
necessarily.
3 rows.
Three rows.
Well,
One
no,
row is
you're doing it in
100%.
quantity, I'm doing it
How do you know what that
You don't
40%
know.
is?
So,
I mean,
Actually,
you have a
100%
certain
blocks
amount.
it, and then you say, okay, 40% more of what? It's already blocked, so how do you know?
I have a
Also,
suggestion.
also one more thing, even if it's 140%, all the pine trees grow, they're all gonna lose their lower branches.
right.
So the extra 40% in the end didn't do any good.
But you didn't put it in pine trees from the other 40%, did you? Put it understory stuff.
Maybe that's what we should have.
Well,
Exactly.
exactly.
See, to me, it's this 140% that the confusion. And you've made it clear, and I think I understand it, but rather than calling out 140%, when the planning board feels that a 100% buffering is required, then these kind of trees and this kind of understory shall be planted. Why not go that way? Then you got your 100%.
Want me to spec it?
Why not? At least it's clear, if we feel that it needs to be 100%, then you have your 2 rows of trees and an understory, some kind of.
I would agree, I would say if we think it has to be 100% buffering, you don't get to put pine trees there, because they're gonna grow and they're gonna do away with the buffering. So you just don't get to use it.
Let's put a fence up there.
Well,
There you go.
that's an alternative.
There you go. But, yeah, I mean, you could put all kinds of other plants in there.
But just that 140%, people say, what?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, 100% is gonna establish a standard, which we're not doing, because you're gonna have 40%, 40% from what?
Well, that's 40% over the 100%.
Question also at the same time, what time of year?
Well, that's the purpose of.
Because you can have your deciduous totally.
Any time of year.
yeah, well, that's impossible with a biological buffer.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
not impossible,
No,
but
it is,
it's not.
it depends on the species that you pick.
We're not in the landscaping business.
No, but we are in the buffering.
But you're not in the buffering
I
business.
think 100%, you have to be really careful with that.
Yeah,
Because
you do.
100% is 100%. So if you can see one little speck of white for a second as the wind blows the trees,
Yeah.
you don't have 100%.
Yeah, but that's why we don't do it on a field, on a basis that you've used before, which is, you will not see that project from these living areas. I mean, that's the standard we've used, and that's impossible to achieve, for the reason you just mentioned.
Now, the other thing is, if you say anything like that,
What
you
we're
should
trying
have
to
a ground level.
What we're trying to do here, though, at the same time,
Yeah, it sounds
is to be able to predict that we'll achieve that. And remember, buffering isn't 100%. Remember, the buffering that you select, you've got variability, it's 75% to 100%. That's really what we're looking at. The planning board makes that decision. There's a difference between screening and buffering. Screening means you're obscuring it, you're not blocking it completely, but you're obscuring it to a degree. Buffering is, you can't see it, or you can't see most of
You
it.
can't see
That's your
most of it.
decision, that's the planning board's got a capability of doing it. So now you set it based on the project, and you establish what you feel that 50 or the 75 or the 100% is, and the applicant goes and does that, and that's the end of the story. If something dies, in the first 3 years, then he's got to replace it. Otherwise, that's it. So, yeah, you're gonna have to be diligent and see, how, are they achieving what you want in terms of buffering? The neighbors who are affected are certainly gonna be all over it. So, but what it does is we're establishing a standard so the applicant doesn't keep getting hit year after year after year with that issue.
At ground level.
At any level, whatever level you
Well, you
decide.
can go upstairs and you can look over it. That's what I'm saying, ground level.
You establish that, gentlemen, that's your prerogative. But when you say it's gotta be buffered and you can't see it from the property, I mean, that's a very difficult thing to achieve. This methodology says we're gonna approve a plan, and you implement the plan, you've achieved the result. You've achieved the result.
All right, so what I hear you saying is that we take out this 140% because it makes no sense whatsoever. We set the standard. If we decide, this is how you're gonna achieve your buffering by 3 layers or whatever, that's
Yeah, we
it.
could do it that way. All right.
At what level?
Yeah, I agree with Marty. And part of the problem that we had with the campground and that was on 80% of the property, it was fine, but if you stood in this one area, on the deck, I think you were out there also, then there was a little bit of problem. So I think that these should be from abutting properties, right? From abutting buildings, ground level at them. I mean, it shouldn't be going up to the second floor and looking out the window. I think this is to stop the everyday nuisance of having whatever it is. If it's big trucks that are parked there or whatever. So that during the day, when people are working on their land or just enjoying their outdoor barbecue, they don't have to see whatever it is we feel has to be screened.
What if their barbecue is up on the deck?
Yeah.
On the second floor?
Yeah, upside down houses are all.
The kitchen, living room.
Well, what about just establishing, it has to be 100% up to a height of 12 feet?
Guys, why
Or
don't you
something
just
along
do
those
it based
lines.
on a case-by-case basis?
We tried that and didn't work.
Because things change.
First
If
of all-
you use your example, that house that right now is 1, and they don't have a second floor deck, well, then they put in the deck, and now this business owner that's gone through all of the problem of doing all of his screening and so forth, to the deck that used to be there on the bottom, and where they used to have their barbecue, now doesn't need it because they did.
But that's
When the
why
planning
we're
was
doing
done,
this, is to avoid that, because the way you did it right now keeps a liability for the business owner to have to respond on a regular basis. This says, do it once, that's it.
Right.
You do this, you
Based
submitted
on-
a 100% for us, and you met that standard, and oops, if it doesn't 100% all the time,
And
Planning board screwed up.
We base it on existing conditions.
Based on our
Whatever
existing
buildings
conditions,
are
if they
currently
change-
there, whatever
Yeah.
views are there currently there.
yeah, you
So
can't
you're
keep
gonna
going.
use the range of 75 to 100%.
You guys set it, you set it depending on the severity of, and there may be situations you say screening's only required. You set the amount of buffering that is required based on the use, and you do that by saying it should be screened or it should be buffered. And so when you look at your setbacks, Tom, when you were talking about all of those, you're concerned about the interface between the DB2 district and the R2 district, you said, we gotta make sure there's lots of room in between. Well, you can have a field, like we do at Du Bois,
That's right.
Claude Du Bois, and you have this, he's 600 feet away from his brother's junkyard, but you can see it very clearly. So distance isn't the factor. Distance isn't always the answer. So it could be a fence, it could be a berm, it could be any number of things, and your board is gonna have a decision, they have to make a decision of, you're gonna have to make it on a case by case, but when you make a decision, say, this is the strategy, you're being approved based on the strategy, not on a open-ended performance standard. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is get back to a standard where the applicant does his due diligence, meets the standard that the planning board sets, and then is not held liable for, forever if things change in the neighborhood. If somebody pops a deck on the 3rd floor and puts a deck up there, the intent is to reduce the liability on the project owner.
So can we add this, go with the 75 to 100%?
Sure. Make it whatever.
But also then that the board, rather than have all of this stuff where, your explanation was really good, the 140% rule enabling because of the consideration of loss. Why don't we just put in that the board shall consider loss of buffering qualities over time in the thing? That way it won't be lost on us or the next guys that come in to the board. look at not only shielding it right now, but what's gonna happen over time with whatever they select.
Yeah, Katie's Bonneville just approved last year, what they have a plan, they have to do, how high are those trees gonna be planted? What they're gonna do for their, buffer.
Who's
Just
that?
for the parking.
Yeah, just for the parking. Yep.
Oh, big trucks.
I mean, you know, he sees farms.
The only place you're gonna have that buffering is between commercial location and a residential, I'm assuming, not in between businesses.
Not between residences.
It was between commercial and residential, not commercial and commercial or residential and residential. It was between commercial and residential. And the idea was to protect Marty's Harvey homeowner from having to see the business.
You know, I think we've already had the very worst case scenario.
We have.
It won't be, we probably won't get that situation in. There aren't too many houses that are bordering the business district right now.
For the new business district, there won't be.
Okay.
There won't be. And what we also did is we made two distinctions between screening and buffering, because those words are used interchangeably in the ordinance, and they mean different things. And so we put definitions of what they mean. Screening is, you know, what, 30 to 60% or whatever it is, I can't remember offhand. And buffering was the hardcore 75 to 100%.
I don't know why this one's back.
Yeah.
What's that?
Island plan.
Oh,
And we all agreed that we were.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right.
There was the issue of pet daycares.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pet daycares. Well, frankly speaking, the ordinance that I used was from another town. I didn't make it up. And I told you that the ordinance, the body of that ordinance or that performance standard did come from, it came from Colorado Springs. It also had some from a town in Illinois. It also was based on the veterinarians, I forget their name now, the professional association standards. The 50% was something that basically seemed as a way, one way of controlling how much space is used, but, you know, giving it more and more thought, I'm not sure it really does much of anything.
The business owner needs to decide how much he wants to put out there. If you have a minimum for them, to me, that's enough. Take out 50%, we should be good.
Yep.
The number of dogs, I think, was the important thing. I think we all agreed that
Yeah,
the
we
size of
were-
the property doesn't solve the problem. You need 500 feet of trees to be able to bring down a sound level of 1 decibel. So, you know, you're not gonna do it with vegetation, you're not gonna do it with distance. And we all know how far sound carries in the winter.
I can hear the dog a while.
So we're gonna,
Exactly. That's
we're gonna leave the number of dogs the way we said it in the ordinance,
Yep,
and we're going to eliminate the 50% requirement on the property,
yep.
right?
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
We still have the requirement to need so much play area per dog.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Those things,
that covers it.
and that is based on the Veterinarian Association.
Okay.
And also the requirement that somebody be trained in dog behavior.
Yeah. Well, everything else is staying there. The only thing that we're gonna change is the 50% requirement,
Good.
okay? Yep. Vinyl siding.
We're back again.
Well, we asked to get this looked at, and one of our comments dealt with the CEO, and the CEO was saying, not my job. And,
No, he said not a chance.
okay, not my job. Okay, if he's saying it's not his job to make that decision, that it is ours, then we need to do that. And in order to do that, we need to have some idea of what quality vinyl siding looks like, what the specifications for it are. The only thing I can do is ask the planner to get us this. I have no clue on vinyl siding.
Question is for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. You put more and more restrictions on, it's like the idea, you're gonna tell them what kind of car they have to drive to? Simple and plain.
Vinyl siding is not so much the quality of siding, it's the quality of insulation.
And sometimes, and the quality of material, there's cheap vinyl siding, there's cheap vinyl siding.
Well, I guess it depends on what you call cheap vinyl siding. You know, the Home Depot siding works great. I don't think
And
we
it
get
might.
much cheaper.
Cheap might not be, it's not in terms of price, it's in terms of quality. There's some vinyl siding, John, you know, you've seen them. It fades, it cracks.
Freezes and cracks.
Freezes and cracks.
Years ago, I was an applicator, and they come in different grades. All you need to do is get a grade.
Right.
It can't be below grade A, B, C, you pick it out C. It's the thickness of the vinyl.
I agree, and that's something that we have to arrive at, but to arrive at that decision, we're gonna see some vinyl.
Isn't that already in the building code that you have to use certain grades of materials?
No.
No, none of that kind of siding. Because I asked you about.
So, one, we weren't going to allow vinyl to begin with, and I think the board would like to allow vinyl. And I think the board then,
Well, that was in the TC, that was in the townhouse corner district.
But that's the way I understood it was coming in all districts, because you were giving strength.
I thought it
Yeah.
was in the.
No, it's in two districts, that's it. It's only in two districts.
yeah, but if we can.
DB1 had it, yeah, because Linda Zook wants to let it in. That's where that comment came from, because we said specifically discouraged that you don't like that.
Yeah, and there was also discussion about in townhouse corner.
Yep.
So
So those
to
were the only two
allow,
places where it was discussed.
well, it's allowed everywhere else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, for those two districts, we'll allow it, the use of vinyl. And some, John, you're at Home Depot, can you double check with the guys that see about it?
There's only one grade that gets sold there.
Really?
Yeah.
Builder Supply does have the two grades, if you pass the thickness, they'll tell you.
Well,
That's
that's
why-
true, I got my vinyl from Home Depot and it was fine. I mean, I don't.
I don't know where mine came from, it was on the house when I bought it.
And it's still there.
It hasn't
And it's
changed.
still there, and that's it.
So we'll leave it up to the plan to find out how we want to grade it.
Sorry?
Leave it up to you to come up with some grading standards.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
just do the grade standards and bring in some, I probably can get some samples.
Okay.
I'll just end it
So,
at that.
yeah, so that we could look at it, give an idea. DB1 and the townhouse corner. Okay.
Huh?
Good question.
What? Is it, are we gonna go shingles next?
We're talking about vinyl siding.
These are comments that were
These
brought
came
up
from
by
the public
from the
at the-
public,
at the
from the
hearing.
hearing, the things that they didn't like. Shingles, I think, are allowed in there. Matter of fact,
Go with the grades.
oh, no. Not for grade, but shingle, weren't you encouraging shingles in there?
Well, it was one of many materials that you use.
Yeah.
The townhouse corner district. Remember, the idea is to maintain the residential character. That's what they were looking at.
No, I agree, I'm just trying to resolve the issue.
Because that was the big thing that the public, that those people who live there said, as long as you don't change the character of the neighborhood. Okay.
So we'll move on. We had the issue with Fritz, and I think we've addressed that.
Well, yeah. You took a look at that?
What's that?
The map.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get, I was, had it on there and I can't, so I'm gonna pass it around. Here's what it's gonna look like. Can't show it, but folks at home. Basically, the area that we're talking about, I can show you on this big map, which I'm sure you all can focus in on. The area we're talking about is this area right in here. These two lots right in here, okay? And the front lot, and did I get this right, Dick? That's what you were looking at, right?
Yeah, there was only one suggestion I was gonna make to you, but I didn't know we'd do it tonight, but where you've got, next to my house and Alan's house, you've got the DB2
Yeah.
and DB1 out front.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, because it's mainly DB1.
Not yet. Well, what I'm looking at is, you've got a natural line that runs pretty much across it. You've got, where you have the orange, for the,
You need to expand.
where they're gonna put their septic system out behind my
Yeah.
Allen's property.
Yeah.
And you've got that all orange.
Yeah.
You got that line that runs along out there that goes all the way across. You got the light blue, the orange, and you go to yellow, R1.
Yeah,
And you got that one area in between that is
BI,
BI.
yeah,
I just thought it would make sense to go BI from that line all the way across instead of splitting it up, like where it's yellow, where my house is.
yeah.
That BD2 section, I thought that that would make more sense to be residential, so it'd be a bigger area. And also out in front of that, where it's DB1, make that commercial.
That's what
Because
DB1
You weren't
is.
here the last meeting, but as I explained to the guys when I talked to them at the last meeting, as you go by the last place on my property, where you see that little jut out, that's where the hill drops are. That's a dangerous section. There's been a lot of accidents right there with people trying to pass. If you're going by my place and you look down, it looks like that light is in a straight line. You got a 1,500-foot drop there, or a big drop. You could put a trailer truck on the other side of that drop and you can't see it. I'm just concerned with little businesses in the DB1 and DB2 trying to come out on the side of that hill. Could be dangerous. So if it was more of a big lot, like a big business would be, they'd move down to where, I don't even know if you could get a permit from
Division.
from anybody to get a driveway coming out on that side of that hill. So I just thought the line would make more sense. If you look across the street, you got St. Amans.
He's in the business, he's in the
Yeah,
BI district.
he's in the BI, yeah. But you cut it off up at my place, where my property is, which is good for me, but I'm not just thinking of just me. That DB1 section right there, I thought would make more sense if it was DB, or a business industrial, and right behind it where it's BD2, make that residential. Then you'd have a good square of residential there. And I understand why you're doing it for them next door, because they're putting that septic system in over there.
Yeah.
And they own that piece of property. But if you notice that line runs in front of Nom Neat Bleacher's place, and it runs in front of, and it comes over and runs along here. And if you look across at St. Amans, that line continues across. This land, when it was laid all out, used to belong to Diamond National, and they cut everything in lots of 660-foot frontage. And that's what these lots basically were, and that's where that line runs across. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Right here, this line, right here, if you was to start here on Route 1 and come in and follow this line all the way across, keep this residential, and this BI, then you're not gonna have somebody two or three small businesses trying to come out on the side of that hill. That's my concern, is that somebody climbs that hill doing 45, 50 miles an hour and there's a car in front of them. There's a problem. If you notice where my driveway comes out from my house, I'm at the very top of the hill.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to come out on the side of come out below. But I swapped some land with Harold Hanson so we could each have access to that. But we could also come out up there. So that lot there, that DD1 you've got now, also has access to my right of way to go out onto Route 1. But if you start putting in a lot of small businesses there, you could have a problem with people trying to come out onto Route 1 and not be able to see what's coming over that hill. It's not so bad on the other side of the street because you're looking down, and the only time it's bad is if you're going to cross Route 1. But if you're going to go north, you just come out and go north, there's no problem. But it's the people coming out of there that I have concern with. I just thought that would make more sense.
I'd be concerned about bringing the BI that far down, right into the center of to the residential zone there. I'd be a
But
little
that's where it
concerned.
always was, because down where, down at where the 1,500 feet was, I remember I was on the board the first time the town put in the ordinances, and one of the things we discussed heavily at that time was the traffic on Route 1, and that's why they went to Searles Lane, to get away from that hill. That's why they came up to 1,500 feet. So,
Because originally, it was just HC1, then they decided to break it into HC1 and HC2.
But they always maintain that distance
Correct.
from the campground road and the log cabin road of 1,500 feet. And I know the hill was the factor, because it's dangerous trying to come out there.
Dick, can I ask you a question on this? Your residence is what's in yellow here, right?
Mine and my stepson, yes.
And
Dina's.
the, out front, it's in orange.
That's where my business
With
is.
the DB2, isn't your family that's
No,
that's
that's
been
Medina, isn't that?
No, the one, right where the R1 is actually written on my copy.
Yeah, that's yours.
That's
and-
Allen's. My land
So
is,
there's two lots there.
well, I actually owned 4 at one time. But you got, right on the base of Route 1, I've got one section cut out that my wife owns, and I own the rest.
Yep.
I also have a 50-foot right-of-way that goes to that other lot where it says DB2. But Alan lives right behind,
Okay.
where the road ends, that's where Alan lives, and that's where I live.
Okay, so
That's where Fritz's Lane ends.
let me ask Ted, on this handout here, there's block 29, Ted?
Yeah.
Is that DB2? You just didn't color it in?
Yeah.
Okay, so DB1.
That's not lot 29, that's map 29. This is all one lot, this is another,
Oh, okay.
this is a large lot right here.
Okay.
That's DB2. This is all a swath of DB2 with a swath of DB1 in it, just like,
I just thought where St. Amans,
What's going on with this? Is that the septic?
That's the septic system. The reason why I put that in is, does that look stupid? Yes.
Yeah.
The reason why is unless we change how we classify the seasonal cottage, remember seasonal cottages can only occur in the BI district right now. So for them to use this for that purpose, it's got to be in the BI district. Okay?
So
Otherwise,
that really threw me off that little.
well, that's what
piece.
throws you off, yeah.
Threw me off too, Tom. That's
Yeah.
something that can't complain.
That seasonal cottages, that is actually a multifamily or it's actually a hospitality use there.
well, they're actually gonna have
Is
the
there-
septic system there.
Exactly.
That's
There's
only
not
the
gonna be
septic
anything
right there.
there. The only thing, you know,
Could it still be R1 and
no, because not unless you change seasonal
Yeah.
cottages and where they can go.
No, because if it's R1, they can't put the septic system in there.
So I understand
Not the way
that,
it
I
is
got
right
no
now.
problem with that.
Question, is this DD2, is that Medina's?
I can't remember.
Yes,
Is it?
yes, DB2, well, actually, he's right on Route 1.
Yeah.
The one right behind that,
This is
He
Gomes.
extend- he-
This is Gomes.
the one right behind that where it says DB1,
Yeah,
where it says DB2, that next lot,
yeah.
that belongs to me.
Yeah, that's this. This
In the
is
blue.
this. And
In the
that's
blue,
Gomes.
yes.
And that's
I own-
Gomes right there.
And the line runs through the center of it, and I think Velma Jones owns the next one.
Yeah,
So,
Well, the line doesn't run through, Victor showed them where the map was.
that's the map ends.
The whole, that whole thing is in DB2.
Yeah, this, see right here, this whole section is in DB2.
So you're telling me that 350 feet?
So you're looking at,
that?
What happens,
I'm
yeah,
asking
to
him.
put,
Where do you put 350 feet?
Because that's the zone.
If you look at this,
It's only
this
one
map,
foot.
this becomes black, right, this becomes BI.
I don't know you
This
got it.
becomes, these two become yellow. So they kind of like, they would sink very nicely into here. And you see all the yellow here, and this would be yellow too. And so they would sink right into the yellow, but the problem is you've got this intrusion of BI in here. It would have to go in there in order to deal with the septic for the seasonal cottages, unless you change where seasonal cottages can go.
What is the depth that you have on B?
We've already approved the seasonal cottage and where there's septic land.
Right, but you don't want to make them non-conforming.
Yeah, I know.
right.
oh, I got
so
no
we
problem
want to
with
leave it
that. I just thought that
So,
if that line from St. Amans goes right across the street, ends on my other lot and Velma's lot, and goes right straight through, and Nom Leach is back here on, just on the other side of the orange, on where it says,
I thought you guys had gotten together and agreed on this.
We did a long time ago.
no,
No, just recently.
I talked to Tad today.
Yeah, we got today.
okay. And I'm looking at the map going, I'm trying to understand, if I understand it correctly, the property in the front, you want it to be BI.
Oh, yeah, I do.
That's
It's
right
always
there on
been
the
here.
what?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any reason that it should not be?
What, Dick's?
The piece in front of his residential?
This BI? Because this would be all, you would bring BI down here. So this would all be BI. This BI would come right in like this. It'd be a big finger that would come right into the DB1 district. That's what would happen. If this property here were to go into BI.
I need to see the map.
There's a whole bunch of islands of zones in there.
Yeah. I want to try to avoid that. It's bad enough to get an
No, because
intrusion.
I thought there was just one parcel of land on Route 1 in front of Dick's property.
Yeah, Dick's property right here. This is what we were talking about right here, that this would be
That's
BI. But Dick is suggesting we go all the way down here.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think, just draw the line, they're gonna have to get site, to get a permit, they're gonna have to have site that's figure that out anyways, whether it's industrial or commercial or what. So,
It's
moving the
really-
line won't make a difference.
What I'm suggesting now is not gonna bother me if it stays what it is.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for safety, I'm not doing it, I'm happy with what Chad has done.
And it's-
The only reason I'm suggesting going a little further is for safety, for people coming out on Route 1.
And it's safe, it is an unsafe place, but I think they still have to prove, in order to get that curb cut approved, they have
have site
They have to
distance.
prove that the site distance, and
But you want DB1 so you can have a bunch of small businesses.
Well, that.
And that's gonna lead to have a lot of
whether
driveways
it's
coming out on.
a bunch of small or one big, it's gonna be cars in and
Well,
out.
DB1 is not the same as DB2.
But the point being that whatever business is in there in DB1, it still has to meet the site distance
Yeah,
for that speed limit, so it won't matter if it's one small business or three small businesses in that area, they still have to meet the site distance requirements to be able to pull out. So I don't think it'll have the effect that you're concerned
Well, what
about.
I'm concerned with is, and it's not even my land, but it's gonna be difficult for him to sell that and to be able to put a road out, because I don't think the state of Maine's gonna allow it.
They won't give him that.
Right, so
Under any circumstance.
you're gonna make the land useless.
So to
Because,
Dick's point, if it were extended, perhaps you could get the business in there, but exit out up above.
up above or further down,
What's the difference? I don't
Yeah,
see the difference.
I
I don't know if I don't know if I'd wanna have some of those uses that far down there.
You're talking on Medina's?
yeah,
Medina, I think already had a curb cut,
he does.
because
He does have a curb.
when,
But it's down, way down the bottom of the hills.
yeah, because
Not on
the
the
site
side.
distance. Yeah, because it was done, the curb cut, the DOT was done.
Okay.
So why don't you check with Medina's? See what they do.
Well,
But, again, I was only bringing it up to say,
If that,
my Tad's got here right now, I got no problem.
yeah,
okay.
But I'm doing it, just thinking about safety, that's
I
all.
think we need to, if you and Fritz have, if Fritz is happy with it, it works for us, then let's go.
Are you happy with the way it is right now for your purposes?
For my purposes,
Okay.
yes.
Let's.
I'll take a look at that. Okay, we'll take a look at the next property.
Just giving you guys an idea to think about, that's all.
We've already talked about the workshop.
Yep.
Lovejoy property issue is taken care of.
Yep.
And we're looking at reader boards,
Yep.
light versus dark.
Right.
why you have a fight?
I think
They both look good.
good.
Yeah, both of them look all right to me, yeah.
Yeah, but the only problem is, you need a sidewalk to see them.
No, that's the size, Marty. Those are small ones. The ones that we have specified for along the highway are much bigger than those. Those are real small ones.
Yeah, but
They're not permitted now. So what
Yeah,
we're
right,
doing is
right.
we're allowing a signage that's not permitted right now in our zone. That's the point. You're not allowed to have those. And we're gonna
They're
be
useless.
They don't have to be useless, then
If
all the
you-
people along Route 1 who use them,
No,
They
like
don't
that, like this,
that size? No, there's
that's
bigger
what I'm talking
sizes.
about.
No, but that's not the size. I'm just giving you examples of what this looks like. I didn't have time to go out to Kennebunk or out down to Wells where they have these in the larger sizes.
I think one of the dots, they're both acceptable.
I think they both work well.
Well, when I said light or dark, I think the thing that I was concerned about is if you see, and I think I showed this to you, this is why you guys did this in the first place. we showed you what the white boards with black lettering look like. And you said, whoa, that's very hard to read.
Tell me what time of year. Kind of white on white, it's hard to see it in the snow.
Listen, go ahead, Jack.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I can pull those pictures back up, but I mean, they were based on, we gave you the pictures of, hey, this is the various ones you can use. What do you think? Which ones you want to use? And you guys said we prefer to have white on dark. It just reads better, it's simple. And you were saying chalkboards work much better, because you can do a lot more with them, and they stand out more with chalkboards.
Certainly the dark ones are more attractive, but I could go along with the black ones too.
Which like ones? There was no white.
Well, the white with the black square.
Right, the leather exchange.
Leather exchange.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
That's both.
whatever you want to do.
The
We're
initiative,
gonna have to change that completely.
I'd say
We're
leave it
gonna
up to
change
the
that
business
again,
owner.
because right now, you have it as a chalkboard. That's what you have it as. The ordinance reads chalkboard, so now we gotta change it.
Well, the chalkboard encompasses these particular examples you gave us, right?
Well, someone, I'm sorry, Roger.
So if we're in favor of what you proposed here, and these fall into the jurisdiction of chalkboard, why change it?
You said you like white.
Like them both.
There's the whiteboards now.
This.
Yeah.
This is a whiteboard, okay?
If-
Not that this has got white painting on it. This is a whiteboard, and you, oh, I can't. Hey, here we go, here's a whiteboard. Today's special. Lobsters, 39 cents.
You just caused a traffic accident.
39 cents is
Yeah.
butter.
That's the time of
Where's
life.
Wayne? He just fainted. This is what Diane was saying was, this works just as well as those do. And that's the question. Do you want a board like this, or do you want the other ones? That's the only question. That was the issue. I don't think anybody complained about having sandwich signs, because it's another sign that we don't have right now.
They complained about the regulating it and telling them what color they had to have and.
Let's not have them then.
They tell them,
Just-
well, but why? These all look good.
Yeah, those are all chalkboards. So you're saying you like the chalkboard ones?
So you just.
Why do you leave it up to the businessman? You tell me what kind of car he's gonna drive again.
You know, then say chalkboards are preferred, but if they want to use it, let them. But, I thought, you know, if that's our preferred, if that's what everybody feels, this is it.
But it's white, black, white with black letters?
Okay, you'd like, I've got to use
White, red?
See a lot of those
Yeah,
now.
preference is chalkboard, but if they want to put up a white reader board,
Then just put sandwich board.
okay, then same with one, fine with me.
I mean, you guys already discussed this, and you guys had agreed upon it one
Right.
time not to go white, and now you're backtracking again. That's probably some of the issues, half the issues is taking forever to get shit done.
Yeah.
Because you keep backtracking what you've already agreed upon.
This responded to the public comment, though.
I know that, but you responded with the public comment, and you gave them guys a reason why. I don't think there was an argument on the reason why. I don't recall an argument on the reason why.
No, but there were several follow-up comments through the night, over and over again, about over-regulation, that we as a board have gone a little bit too far in telling people what they can do or not do. So did it apply to the reader board? Did it apply to the lighting? Yeah, all of those things. There was just a little too much in there. I agree with
Stay
your
with what we
comment.
got right now. That's the point. We've
You know,
opened
I
things
vo-
up.
I voted
You
for
say
the, I'm one of the ones that voted for the chalkboard.
Hang on
Just
just for-
saying
hang
that.
on just for a second. I'm looking at the minutes from the public hearing,
Uh-huh.
signs. The planner reviewed section 712 and there were no comments or questions. That's what it says.
So it's a
So
dead issue.
why are we looking at it?
Yeah.
I agree with Dan. It says there were no comments or questions from the audience.
So why is it on here then?
I have no idea. Let's move on.
No, it was because the one question was, Diane had said, why not whiteboards instead of chalkboards? That's the only, that was the comment.
Okay, so let's move on. Because we have nothing.
And all I did was just show you what the chalkboards look like, in case you forgot what the chalkboards look like.
Okay, here's the reality check. You know, and Diane might be listening now, she's gonna bring up why not whiteboards again next year. And it's a good question. You know, it could be brought up again. So I'm gonna you gotta pick your battles, you know. Is this worth trying to explain, defend why we're regulating this? I'd say just let it go. And,
What's not happening then?
no, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
It's not either or.
I think we have to go back and look at our rationale originally
Well, that's
as to
just
why
it.
we said
The
that.
rationale was, this reads better, it's easier to see, you like the
It's
looks of
pretty
it
open.
better, and it was more flexible. And you didn't like the letters, you didn't like those cutout black letters on the white, that's why.
But Tom is right, you know, Diane asked the question first time on signage. God made little green apples, she'll ask the question all over again.
Okay?
So as
So
long
the
as we have
question
a
is,
good
which one do
defense.
you prefer? If you like that, if that's fine with you guys, then fine. If that's fine, and that's fine, terrific, you can make it either one. You can have a white, I don't know, what are those things called?
What do you just leave it up to the businessman?
So,
He's paying for it.
Whiteboard or the chalkboard?
or chalkboard, yeah,
Either one.
they should. And you're right, we don't want those little, push.
That's what you hated, you
Yeah.
hated those letters.
We don't
That's
want
why you
that.
said you didn't want to do that. That's why you said, let's go with chalkboard, it lets people do it, and it's cheap.
But
and it
At
can
the
be
time,
changed, and it's
we weren't aware, or didn't consider that option.
No, we didn't, no, because I haven't seen anybody do this.
But
I've seen them do it for restaurants under the eaves, but I haven't seen it as a, I hadn't thought of that because I haven't seen
Especially
it
if
as
it's
a
out in the
sandwich
weather, it
board.
might run or something, but if they wanted
And
to have one,
even the chalkboards that we like, if they're out in the weather, they're
yeah,
gonna run.
no, you're right. They'll run.
They're gonna run. Signs outside are gonna run regardless.
Okay,
Uh,
those will work.
I think that the fact that we reached that decision and we responded as to why we like them, I'm not sure we need to revisit the issue.
Okay. So what's that mean, just,
We decided that it's the chalkboard, the black reader board, I can't remember.
What is that chalkboard?
The chalkboard effect as opposed to the white sign reader board. You know, they're gonna have the sandwich boards, they're just not gonna be both sides looking like that.
I know we already made a decision, we had it written, but I'll ask, what's wrong with the whiteboard? What would be wrong? I have one, someone gave it to me, it's brand new, I want to use it, what's wrong with it?
It's not the right
It's
color.
faded color, it doesn't stay white.
Have you ever seen a chalkboard that hasn't been
But
erased clearly?
but you can wash them off and
You
make
can
them
wash these
restore.
too.
These have been washed.
Yeah, but not with alcohol. Alcohol.
You know, we keep losing sight of the fact that these boards are not even allowed in town right now, so we're giving something that they don't presently have.
Mr. Chairman, it's after 9 o'clock.
I'm aware of that, thank you very much. We're gonna do this,
But I'll give in, I'll move on.
sign heights.
Well,
What time do we have to finish up?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Just for my
Okay.
little 2 cents, I'm in agreement with Tom. I don't think we should exclude whiteboard for what it's worth.
Okay. We need to take a vote in terms of whether or not we extend the meeting for a little bit to finish up this section, or do we adjourn and
Just go another 5 minutes.
9:30.
Okay.
you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the meeting till 9:30.
Second.
All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay.
Because this is gonna take more than 8 feet.
Signs.
Let's do.
We're looking at, we've been given a list of signs, all of which are under 8 feet.
You never
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did you resolve this?
I don't know if we did.
No,
Oh,
I would ask, because I don't want to revisit this, and I want to change this
All right,
once.
then, I'll make a motion then on that. My motion is that we change it to allow reader boards to allow whiteboards. Chalkboard or whiteboard?
Okay,
I'll second that.
so we have a motion to change the ordinance to allow either chalkboards or whiteboards.
Future ordinance,
The one we're working on, Mike.
but you said the ordinance now, it's not an ordinance yet. Future ordinance.
Okay, point taken. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion
All
carries.
right, good. And if you change it again,
No,
We're not, no, we will not be revisiting this item.
Never say never.
Okay, signs. We capped it at 8 feet, correct?
in the, that was in the DB one.
In the DB1.
Yeah, we capped it at 8 feet. It's higher than DB2. And the question was, and we've been through this before, so I didn't pull up the same signs that we had last time. But I did pull up signs that are under 8 feet, so you can take a look at 8 feet or less. And these are signs that exist right now along Route 1 in other places.
Thanks for giving the pictures, it does help.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
And that Mercy is a brand new Mercy, that's in Yarmouth on Route 1.
What's the speed limit?
I believe it's 50 through there. Oh, probably, no, it's 45 through here, through this section here. It's
By my
50.
place is 40.
It's 48 years.
It drops to 40 as you go by the seasonal cottages.
There were some comments made
This has
about
got a center turn lane too.
the depth of the snow
Yeah.
and the fact that, at 8 feet, it might not work out.
And the other thing is, sitting in a pickup truck, trying to look underneath the sign.
You mean?
See up, oncoming traffic.
Well, they can't be placed in,
So higher the sign,
Well, you don't, you're not gonna put a sign of any kind right within the view, within
You
the
can't
sight line
obstruct
distance.
the
You
sight.
can't obstruct the sight distance. You can't do it. First of all, it's gonna be in the state right away. They're not gonna let you put a sign in the state right away. The second thing is that you're not gonna put it there, even if you could put a sign in the state right away, you wouldn't put it there anyways, because it's gonna obstruct it's gonna obstruct the sight distances. You can't do that. It's measured what? It's measured, I think it's, 4 feet back, 10 feet back? 10 feet back and, no, it's 4 feet back and 4 foot height. Could look it up. So you're not gonna put a sign out there. As you can see in all these situations, the sign isn't interrupting the traffic flow. It's not allowed to.
but like I said, you know, your Eastern Trail signs are taller than you can turn around and have a sign for a business.
What Eastern Trail signs? What Eastern Trail signs do we have that are tall?
Turn around, it's taller than 8 feet. Then you go to the top of the sign,
Okay, so if we take all the business signs, let them go to the height of Eastern Trail, but the same size as the Eastern Trail. Is that okay?
no.
That rests my case.
Why are you restricting businesses?
Not restricting business.
You are.
Actually putting this, we're actually letting more signage occur on the site than currently allows.
How much is allowed now?
An aggregate of 100.
60?
Aggregate of 100 square feet total.
Yeah, and
You
you're.
can have more than that on the site now. Under the new proposed ordinance, it's based on the building size, it's based on it's based on footage, if you remember, signage per footage, remember? So,
And he's
we're letting
going
more
away.
signage, and it's based on individual footage. So individual businesses, especially in a multi-unit building, each business can have its own signage without having to argue with the landlord about where they can put their signage.
But
Because they
the
have
fact-
to worry about the aggregate.
But the fact is, okay, if you're 250 feet away, there's no point if you're gonna put banners or anything else around there to be seen if you got another building in front of you. So you turn around and just say you're gonna have just a small sign, 8 feet tall,
60-foot sign, 8 feet tall.
60 foot?
Yeah. Or 60 square foot. 60 square foot sign, 60 square foot sign, 8 feet. You look at that Mercy sign,
Close to that.
look at that Mercy sign.
It's a big sign.
That's a big sign.
The main
That thing's 6 feet tall. That's a big sign. You know, the other thing about it, Marty, it's also in the driver's viewpoint. It's in his center of vision. It's not up here. That's not where a driver's looking. Anything over 15% is uncomfortable for a driver. It's right in his view set. He's going along at 45 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. He's going through at that, and it's right in his view shed. It's also in the passenger's view shed too. It's like this. It's not up here, it's right there. And that's the thing that's great.
I think before you make me anything here, hear from the business people, instead of being point blank, telling, dictating to them.
Marty, we have heard from the business people.
When?
We've had multiple public hearings on this issue. That's when we've heard from the business people. If they had comments, they could come to the public meeting, they could show up, we listened to them, we've made changes to the sign ordinance. This is what we came up with. And it was brought up at the public meeting about whether or not 8 feet was sufficient. So my question to the rest of the board is, what do you think? Is 8 feet and 8 foot height sufficient?
I think so.
I happen to think it is.
Well, these pictures look
Pretty convincing.
They are along Route 1.
They are Route 1. Oh, the Key Bank isn't, you're right. Key Bank's run along 115.
They aren't along Route 1 here.
Where?
What's
Doesn't matter.
Rundle.
What's that got to do with it, though, Mark? Whether they're here Route here or Route somewhere else or Route 65, what difference does it make? They're pictures of signs that could be what is allowed on Route 1. So what's the issue? I'm just trying to understand.
Again, point blank. You do not run a business. Oh, wait, now let me finish. Okay, you asked me to explain. You do not run a business. You are dictating to what sign, height, and everything else is.
Marty?
Okay, so welcome to the real world, Marty, right? That's the way the world is today.
Marty, to your point, I do run a business. You don't think I run it in Arundel, therefore I should not have a comment about how business signs should look. You only care about signs that are in the town of Arundel.
This is where we're living. This is where
And
we're doing
we're
it.
saying that we're allowing you more signage than you currently have right now.
They're
So,